Right, we're going to talk about dahlias. One of my favourite things to grow in my garden, and it's a really exciting time in Feb when our tubers start to arrive. It's also the time that we can think about growing them from seed. There are so many different opinions, rules about dahlia growing, but you just do what works for you. Normally, March is a great time to get these tubers potted up indoors or in a greenhouse, but what you have to be careful of, they hate the frost, they hate the wet. So I would say that if you're potting them up, then indoors is the safest. Any frost that gets on any new growth will just kill it, so that's not good. And they don't want to be sat in wet compost. The compost just needs to be slightly moist, and in fact dahlias will wake up in nothing. Their eyes will start to swell and they'll start to sprout. So definitely be careful, because you do not want your tubers rotting. I have made the decision this year that for me, in Sussex, the dahlias are, for me in my garden, always slow. They're always late, they always take forever. So I've decided that I'm just going to pot my tubers up as they arrive. So I've ordered lots of new varieties from different suppliers. I am going to get them potted up when they arrive, and I'm just going to put them on a windowsill, just forget about them and go from there. Now they often can take like 4 weeks-ish, maybe a bit longer, before you'll even see anything. The eyes on the dahlias will start to swell, you'll notice where they are, and then they will start to grow. So they're going to be inside for a really long time, so you definitely have to think about that. But don't think you have to go early. These can be planted straight in the ground, late March, beginning of April. These can be potted up, just in pots in the garden much later on. So don't think that you have to do them early, because you absolutely don't. Dahlias from seed, they will flower this year, 100%. They're going to flower this year. By the end of the season, if you were to lift your dahlias out the ground or out the pots, they will have grown their own tuber. It's completely mind-blowing. It does happen that quick. Now again, the seedlings, they're not going to like the cold, they don't like the frost. So you're going to need to be careful with these. I have sown these in March before. Some people like to wait till April. I think you just do you. They are amazing to grow. They're really easy to grow. I usually do the Bishop's Children variety, which I am going to be sowing, but I've also bought some collarette varieties from Untamed Dahlias. So they are just from their small little flower farm. Really excited to grow these. So I'm going to be starting some seeds off in Feb, and I'm going to be potting up some tubers in Feb. But like I said, you absolutely don't have to. It's very early, because they're going to be indoors for a long time. But it's just for me, I'm experimenting. I'm fed up with having to wait for them for so long, so I'm just going to see what happens. I've got the advantage also of having the cabin, so if I get fed up with them indoors, I can chuck them out there. So yeah, what I will say is that when your tubers arrive, you can give them a bit of a tidy up. Any bits of tuber that have got a broken neck like this, and you could just pull that off. She says it doesn't want to pull off, but basically anything with a broken neck like that is not going to grow. That's never going to be a dahlia, so just chuck that in the bin. And actually, if you were to trim this up and get rid of everything that's dangling, get rid of all of these hairy roots, you're often left with a much smaller clump than it looks, which is okay, because you can actually squeeze it in a smaller pot. So I always start my dahlias off in a small pot so that they can fit on the windowsill, and then as they grow and as they wake up, then I'll just pot them up into a bigger one, or put them straight outside, depending on when I do them. But tidy them up. There's no point planting a whole big clump with all the dead bits that aren't going to do anything, because it's just taking up more space. So I will show you how to tidy up a dahlia before you plant it. So here we have a tuber which has come from J. Parker's. I've already trimmed up one of these and was left with hardly anything, but I'm going to show you how to trim up a dahlia before you pot it up. Like I said, you may as well tidy it up because it's going to fit in a smaller pot. So anything that looks straggly like that can come off. Any hairy roots at the bottom, they can all come off. Nothing's going to grow from any of this. So whip all of that off. Doesn't help my snips aren't very sharp. Nothing's going to grow from that. Already you can see that's much smaller. That's a bit of a broken neck. That's not going to grow. That is dangling. That's not going to grow. And you'll see that's got no, there's no crown, there's no eye. It just looks like a potato. So that is now quite a bit smaller, isn't it? And it's going to take up less space when you pot it up. Now, looking at this straight away, I can tell you where some eyes are. So you can see here, that is an eye. I can see another eye here. And then lower down, I reckon we've got an eye in there. It's definitely an eye on here. So that's got multiple eyes. So even though that looks quite small, that's fine. And I will just put that into a pot of compost. This little pot here is about the size that I would put that into. So it doesn't need to be big. That is big enough for it to wake up, start to grow, and it will be quite happy in there until I either decide to plant it out or I have it in a pot. So that is a perfect size. So that is ready to be planted up. But it is just the most exciting time. You've still got loads of time to be ordering dahlias. You can also buy them potted up. You can buy them ready to plant in the garden. You can buy rooted cuttings. There's so many different ways that you can buy dahlias, but they're just amazing. And I really, really hope that 2025 is going to be the year of dahlias, because it has been a bit disappointing the last couple of years for me. Just not huge volumes of flowers that I've had in previous years because we just haven't had the sun. So I'm hoping that it's going to be a great year for them.